right, Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abayim, everyone. I hope Mr. Fuller is okay with me responding here like this. Shalom Rebbe, is there any chance I could learn a little bit more about your movement, please? I did notice you have a YouTube channel. I've been documenting your life and Hasidism, which is very cool. I've been watching the videos. I'll be watching the videos soon. I've seen you have lots of Talmidim. I find Hasidism fascinating. Yeah, I'd love to know some more about it, if that is okay. Did you inherit leadership of a movement, dynasty named Koblentzer, or were you from another sect, and you became a Rebbe by the consensus of your pupils? I don't quite know how it works, but to be honest, I'm fascinated to be talking to anyone called a Rebbe by Hasidim, and I would love the chance to know more. Sorry if this is rude to ask, Rav. I'm not really a Rebbe. I'm just I was a Rav of a shul, and I'll put it this way. I guess we'll answer things one by one. Did I inherit leadership? There was no movement or dynasty named Koblentzer. Koblenz is a town in Germany, actually, where one of my ancestors, well over 400 years ago, was a Rav for a few years. Really, on any of my stationery, whatever, if I do use it, I put Ab Bezdin Koblentz, not Ad Morme Koblentz. And so really the title would probably Koblentzer Ruv or Koblentzer Rav. But I know, in our circles, Hungarian, Galicianer, Rav and Rebbe are interchangeable, as opposed to how it is in the Russian circles, where a Rebbe is a Rebbe and a Rav is a Rav. It's two separate things. And the Polish are also, to a certain extent, but in the Hungarian and Galicianer circles, you'll hear they say Satmar Rav or Satmar Rebbe, Baba Rav, Baba Rebbe, Belzer Rav, Belzer Rebbe. They're interchangeable. I don't know if I'm really called a Rebbe by Hasidim. The main reason I started using this name above any other reason is because I work as a prison chaplain, and it's not a good idea to have your legal name out there on social media, and we're encouraged to use a pseudonym. And that's really all it comes down to. I'm not like a Rebbe. I do dress like a Rebbe, I'd say most of the time. I wear a bekisha during the week most of the time, and a hoichehid, and I do wear colorful bekishas on Shabbos and Pepperdehoizen and struckers, and I do have a kolpik that I like to wear Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh. But really, Koblentz was not a Hasidic community. It isn't. It's a German community. But my ancestor, the Chavos Yoyer, who was from before the time of the Hasidim, I feel had a very Hasidic neshama. I think if he was from the time after the times of the Talmidei Baal Shem, he would be from the Talmidei Baal Shem. But again, in our circles, a lot of Rabbonim, especially coming out of Satmar and these circles, they'll take a name that one of their ancestors was a Rav of a town, even if he wasn't a Rebbe, but he was the Rav of the town. Actually, in the writings of the Chavos Yoyer, it brings down that someone who is both Ab Bezdin V'Rav, that both he's the chief rabbi of a town or of a community, and he's also has a yeshiva, that's the type of person who has a koyach to give a bracha. So that would be the inyan of the Rebbe. And that actually the minhagim in Worms, where in the end of his life the Chavos Yoyer was Rav, and really he had more of a dynastic connection to Worms because his father and grandfather were also Rabbanim in Worms. But before he was Rav there, they had another Rav, and he was actually, like we said, he was a Rav in Koblentz, and he was and his story of his Rabbanis was very similar to my own when I was a Rav in Richmond, that they didn't renew the contract. So I was there for a few years, and so that's why I picked that name. Also, it sounds cool. It doesn't sound like it's from Germany. It sounds like it's from Ich weiß, could be in Ergit somewhere in Galicia or Poland or something. And that's really the whole story. But I like to learn with anybody who wants to learn with me, mostly Baruch Hashem Yiddishe, Talmidim, or Chavrusas, friends. We learn together, and that's all. But I'm not like a Rebbe. If you want to go to a Rebbe, I'd say go to the Koblentzer Rebbe. That's the Tzaddik Ador. That's my Rebbe. It's the Koblentzer Rebbe in Williamsburg. He communicates only with the machine now. If you could go to Williamsburg and go to see the Koblentzer Rebbe, I would certainly recommend to go see him. That's why I hold is the Tzaddik Ador is the Koblentzer Rebbe. It's the Tzaddik of our generation. But there are other Rebbes I've shaykhs with, and again, I learned, like we have in our neighborhood, we have a Nikolsberger Rebbe. There are 3 or 4 Nikolsberger Rebbes. This one, he calls himself Nikolsberger Rebbe because his yichus goes back to Mordechai Benet, who was the Rav in Nikolsberg, not to the Rebbe of Shmelke. His family, like my family, were from Chenger, and were abonim in Chenger. Like my the last of my ancestors I could find in my yichus was a Rav in Chenger. But I didn't want to take the name Chenger Rav because the Jungreis family has more of a right to the name Chenger Rav or Chenger Rebbe. Even though my ancestors were abonim, my great grandfather, 6 generations back, was the Rav there in Chenger before the Jungreis family, before the Menichas Osher was a big tzaddik. And then his shver, also Azeda, was a Rav in Krula, but there's probably 5 or 6 Krula Ravs, or Krula Rebbes. Samarov was a Rav in Krula, the Spinker Rebbe was a Rav in Krula. So, and many other tzaddikim, they were Rabbanim in Krula. So I didn't want to take that name either. So I learned from a Rebbe who I was a hosbucher by, and it was a Gaba by, that you take a name that nobody else is using. Because his shver was Biala Rebbe, and a lot of the Biala Hasidim wanted him to be a Rebbe. So he went back in the history. The first Biala Rebbe, his father was the Rebbe in Shidlovtza. It was the grandson of the Yiddikosh. So Reb Nosson David. So that was from his wife's side. He himself was Sanzer Einikel, this particular Shidlovtza Rebbe. But I learned from that you take a name that nobody else has. And there's a chokhmah in that. And so, I have a friend, a Balabata Shiyid, but a Talmud Chochem, a Voile Yid, and a big tzaddik, a Titov Asach, and he opened a Bismedrash. He was a Balabas. He had money, opened a Bismedrash in Williamsburg. And he started calling himself such and such a Rav because from his mother's side, he found, going back, not a Hasidic Rebbe, but he's a Satmar guy, and he's a Hasidic Rav. I'm saying the ancestor wasn't Hasidic, but he took that name because that's a name in his ancestry of someone who was a Rav. It's not just the town where you came from, the town where one of your ancestors served as a Rav. So again, I could have taken, I had one ancestor who was a Rav in Belgrade. Or another thing, a shared ancestor that I and there's a Rav, used to be in Monroe, I think he moved to Muncie now. I think actually, he works as a travel agent, at an ice cream shop, something. But he, Riv Zichon Prager Rav, I used to work for him when he had the yeshiva. Why? Because he's Einikel from the Maral, I'm also Einikel from the Maral. So he took from the name Prague, and he named the yeshiva Prague, and that was the story. So that's that's how it works in our circles. It's not like how in Lubavitch there's only one Rebbe, Square there's only one Rebbe. In Satmar everybody's a Rebbe. Everyone's this or that Rav, this or that Dayan. This one calls himself Luzhensker Dayan. Then he decides he's this, he's that. That's just how it is. I didn't grow up. Now these people maybe they grew up more Rebbish or whatever. I didn't grow up Rebbish. I didn't grow up Frum. But people started calling me even the Kalakuna Rebbe when I was because I lived in the town Callicoon, and I was a Rav in Richmond. They would say Richmonder Rav or Richmonder Rebbe, and it hurt so much when I left Richmond. I didn't want to be associated with Richmond anymore, because because I loved it there, and it was a big pain that I left there. So then it became. I started looking to my yichus, and I found from my Zayda's side, my father wasn't Jewish. My mother grew up modern Orthodox, which in the 60s and 70s wasn't as frum as it is now. Particularly if you were, that far east, and in Queens, and she went to public school, whatever. But her father, my Zayda, I looked into his yichus, and I found, going back, like I said, to the Chengaruv and Ishver Krularuf, but the Chengaruv line was a Einikal, like I said, from the Chavas Yor, from the Moral, and also Epis from the Shloh Kodesh, but we couldn't find exactly where that connection was. And that was. And again, I had Zayda's Rabbanim in Verdun. There's a Verdaner Rebbe. I didn't want to take a name that someone else, or a Gross Verdain Rav in the same city, just different ways of saying it in Staten Island. So again, I didn't want to take a name that someone else was using, and I found nobody else. Not only that, in Koblentz they still have a shul, but they don't have a Rav. So it's not even like, Prague has a Rav, Worms maybe has a Rav. I don't know if there's still a Kehillah in Worms, but there is still a Kehillah in Koblentz. And, it's just something, halfway a joke, kind of like, Pastor Rebbe. But again, the other Nikolsberger Rebbe, who's also a Nikel from Moral, Muncie, he didn't grow up to be a Rebbe, but the Kalaver Rebbe gave him the name Nikolsberger Rebbe. I think either the Kalaver Rebbe taught him how to lay a kvittel, and I think it was Ramat Levizhnitzer who gave him the name Nikolsberger Rebbe. Then there was a Lezhensker Rebbe who was nifter recently, and again, it wasn't like that it was all the way, Lezhensker Rebbe all the way back to Rebbe Melech. But that's how we do things in this community. It doesn't really mean you're really any different than any regular rabbi. Although some they do know how to read it, like I said, like Michael Lebovich, he learned from the Kalaver Rebbe how to read a kvittel. So that makes him more like a Rebbe because he can read a kvittel. But not all the Rebbes read kvitlach. The different Rebbes. Some people say, like, it's a big deal when you have a Rebbe who's just like more pashut, like So whatever it is, that's the thing. But I try my best to follow things I learned from the Chavos Yor, from his Sfarim and things, and from Minhagim, or maybe Minhagim that were done in Worms that maybe the Chavos Yor didn't like so much. So the things that I do that are more like Worms or Minhagim is that I say the Shir Yichud every day, Bli Neder, and I've been keeping up with it. And maybe if I would open a Bismedrash, I would probably have it liturgically in the shul to say the Shir Yichud. And even though the Maharal was not happy with that, and another thing that I do is that we make a bonfire on Simchas Torah. I have a little fire pit, and we make a little fire for Simchas Torah at my house, which again was something the Chavos Yor wasn't so happy about, but it was the minhag in Worms, and even they say once the Pnei Yoshua was there, and he said as long as you cook something on the fire, it's okay. So my kids usually they'll cook a hot dog or some marshmallows or something on the fire, and we dance around the fire, which is a minhag in Worms. don't know really so much the minhagim of Koblentz, but the minhagim of verbs we know. Another thing from the Chavos Yor is I carry around garlic on Tisha B'Av to keep away demons. So these are like Hasidic type things, and so that's really more or less, and I sing the Zmiros of the Chavos Yor, the Shabbos Zmiros, the Hanukkah Zmiros, and then some of the other Zmiros, and some of the other Tchinas and Tfilas that he has. There was one Lifnei Achila I try to say once in a while. There's one for Erev Rosh Chodesh from his father that I try to say. And these are things that I do personally. Not that I necessarily say other people should do them, although I do encourage people to say the Shir Yichud. Even though, like I said, the Maral was not happy with it. Another thing, and this is from the Maral, which is actually a Satmar minhag, I'll tell you an interesting thing. So the Satmar Rav Tzchusin Aleinu, there are very few what we call Satmar minhagim. And for the most part, I do follow them. But most of what we call like Satmar minhagim are just general Hasidic minhagim, Hungarian minhagim, and a lot of them go back to Ashkenaz minhagim. Like, for example, the Chavos Yor brings down in the Kor Chaim that you eat milchiks Sunday night and Wednesday night. I don't always do that. So I just eat whatever my wife serves me. But if you go to like Williamsburg and Kiryas Yol, that's a very common minhag. Is to have milchiks Sunday night and Wednesday night, the Indian of Tainus Baham, and so that's like one of the things people would call like a Satmar minhag, but it goes back, it's really an old Ashkenaz minhag. But one very interesting minhag that was another thing I try to do that the Chavos Yor brings down is to take out a chumash for on Simchas Torah and not just use the machzer when they lane, when listening to the laning. And there are other little things like that. But one that was very interesting is that Satmar Rav, Seif Yomov, he missed Kiddush Levana once, I think. And he was so upset about it, so then he said he's going to make Kiddush Levana, and I think it was because he waited until after Yom Kippur to make Kiddush Levana, and then there was no Levana. So there's a big machlokes whether it's better to make Kiddush Levana Motzei Yom Kippur, or to make Kiddush Levana before Yom Kippur to have an extra schus, or you need it Motzei Yom Kippur so it should be together simcha, similar to like with the 9 days. So Satmar Rav would make Kiddush Levana before Yom Kippur, which is not the minhag of Olam, and I've always felt uncomfortable. I don't think I can do that because it's so different than what everybody else does. And then when I saw it in the Kor Chaim that the Chavos Yor brings down that was the minhag of the Maral, I started to do it. So as long as there's a Levana, if there's not a Levana, alright, we'll do a Motzei Yom Kippur, like minhag Olam. But these are just like minhagim that I personally try to do, and things like that, So that's the story. So it's more than Koblentzer Rebbe, but nobody knows the word Rav in English. They put Rebbe, right? And then, and the same thing, like I said, the Nikolsberger Rebbe in Woodburn, that he on his business card says Abezdin the Kalkodesh Nikolsberg, not the Admor in Nikolsberg. So that's really more or less my story. Right now, I happen not to be dressed Rebbish because I went into a grocery store and I was like, I don't know, if it was kind of more like a redneck grocery store. I didn't know if it was somewhere said that you should be wearing a bekasha and a hoichahid. But when I davened today, I wore my tzitzis out. I'm not trying to hide them Eid. And on my jacket here it says Rabbi, so that's I'm not trying to hide them Eid. I'm just trying to not offend people, but try to fit in a little bit. So that's the story. Oh, actually here gas is cheaper than where I got gas. I could have gotten gas here. So that's the story. Not sure what else, but I do appreciate if you watch the YouTube channel, and just thank you for watching, and whatever we could do to help, we're here to help. But truth is, I'm trying to find to be a rabbi of a shul right now. Baruch Hashem, I'm assistant rabbi in the shul, and but the shul we don't always have a minyan, which nobody's supposed to know. But part of the reason is because some neighbors of mine started a minyan in their house, l'davonenu, and it's destroying our community, and it's illegal also. But I love them. I'm davening for them. But I hope they do tshuva, and I hope they come back to daven in our shul. But that's the story. So, well, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. And I hope this explained a little bit my story. Baruch Hashem, I went to yeshiva, started going to yeshiva in 10th grade, Ezra Academy, and I was a Talmud by Rav Moshe Weinberger, who doesn't call himself Woodmere Rebbe, so, but we call him that. And then I learned in Or Sameach, and I learned in Lander College, and then I got married, and I was a Rav in the shul in Richmond, Virginia, Young Israel, modern Orthodox shul. But then I was wearing a shtreimel, white socks, and carried a cane, and conducted myself as a Rebbe. More like then I used to make a tish, and I think back then I had a lot more siyata d'shmaya. I saw certain things that Baruch Hashem, Bezos Hashem Yisborach, were able to ofteen, to help people. Alright, so there are people who send me kvitlach. They're very choshev people. There's one very choshev Yid who's, I guess, a big chassid of mine. I don't deserve it. I should be a chassid of his. But he sends me kvitlach, asks me to daven for his family, and it's all from Hashem. It's not me, and we can all do the same thing. But and I don't, like I said, I'm not tzaddik. I'm a big rasha. I have to do tshuva. We all have to do tshuva, and the people who will take that out of context also have to do tshuva. There's an over shoyim. I'm talking like what the Tanya says is a rasha, not like Rabbi Nachman. By Rabbi Nachman, we're all tzaddikim, right? And it said, "V'amech kulam tzaddikim." But anyway, so I do have some very choshev Yidden who, Hashem, we're friends, but I don't know. I certainly don't deserve the title of Rebbe, but just it's a taiva to be a Rebbe. Like there's a Yid in Givat Zev, he calls himself the Berditchever Rebbe, right? And he says he chaps al cheta. He calls himself an admor. He calls himself a Rebbe. But so if I'm a Rebbe like the Berditchever Rebbe, and as a Voile Yid, I should do more for Yiddishkeit like he does. But I remember certain Rebbes said, I'm a Rebbe, a Rov, this, that, and I asked if I should use the name Koblentzer, and I don't know if I got approval. This is a Shaina Nomen, didn't say no. So that's my story. but I'm not really like a Rebbe. But if like I tried to get that you should make a tish or something when my wife is a big speaker, my Rebbetzin. So this is Koblentzer Rebbe. I'm a Rebbe because I married a Rebbetzin. I'm a rabbi because I married a Rebbetzin. So my wife's a very popular speaker, and she gets invited to speak different places. So we were down in Florida a few weeks ago because my wife was invited to speak. So I said, all right, we're already there. I'll chaperine. I'll speak somewhere. I didn't get invited though anywhere, but Baruch Hashem, we met some people, and they said, next time you come, we'll have you. Now that we know you, we'll have you come make a tish. So most of the Rebbes, when they go, they put up a poster. The Rebbe will give brachas and eitzes. He's a big tzaddik. I didn't put any of that. I said I'm an award-winning historian and raconteur, and that's me. I can make a tish, but it's almost more for entertainment than anything. And I could give drushes and talk. I like to talk. That's me. So if anybody wants to invite me to come to their community, or they have a community that's somewhere not too far, I would say within the 3 hours of Scranton, Pennsylvania, maybe somewhere in New Jersey or somewhere, or in upstate New York or whatever, and they'd like for me to be a Rav for Shabbos, I would enjoy it very much. But I don't know, I always kind of had my eye on maybe like Teaneck, New Jersey doesn't have like a Hasidic Rebbe, because like you have the little communities, where I lived, like I lived in Queens, and so we had the Ibn Aruv, we have, and the Ulam Aruv, and big tzaddikim, big Talmidei Chachamim, and those were, but they, make a Tish Friday night, make a Shalashidas. They'd say Hashem Melech by Shalashidas, whatever it is, it'd be like a Hasidic atmosphere for more of a modern crowd. And if that's what someone is interested in, I would be very happy to help. Like my Rebbe, like Rabbi Weinberger, they asked him to come to Woodmere. He didn't want to, but they wanted him, and I want to, and that's why I'm not getting it. So that's, and also I'm not so frum. Like I try my best, Baruch Hashem, I keep Chalav Yisrael, I keep Pas Yisrael, I keep Rabbeinu Tam, keep Shabbos late, Chveis, but other than that, I'm not so frum. I watch television, I watch movies, I watch videos, but, we watch, Baruch Hashem, more clean stuff, the old movies and things, And I talk about that. I'm known as a historian about those types of things. I should have been learning Torah now, like I usually do on my ride home. I have to make it up. That's another thing I do, Baruch Hashem, is I, like Rabbi Nachman says, to read through the Gemara. I can't say I'm really learning, but I try my best and I say the words. And Baruch Hashem, I've been through Shas a few times, and this time will probably take less than 2 years. Because I did last time 4 blot a day, and now I'm doing 5. I'm doing 30 blot a week. Friday I do 4, and Shabbos I do 6. And I'm just up to Sukkah now. I haven't made the Siyum yet for the 3rd time around Shas. And I finish Shas Mishnayos with twice a year, because I do with 3 prakim a day, and I don't know, is it worth it for me to, if people get chizik from these videos, I'll keep making them. I'm hoping eventually that my YouTube channel will get monetized. That's a big thing. So, but Mr. Fuller, thank you very much for reaching out to me. I wish you a lot of bracha and hatzlacha. I try to keep things simple, I say Smiras and Shabbos. I do like a lot of the Hasidic things, and I dress Hasidic, Rebbish, whatever. But in many ways I'm modern. I went to college. I watch television movies, and also I love America. I'm a very big patriotic American. and people don't like that I do these things. Like I make a Suda Saidah on 4th of July and Thanksgiving, because I think it's and that's something most of my Rebbeim would not do. But one of my Rebbeim, who's a Breslover Chassid, he makes a Suda Saidah on Thanksgiving, and I was mekabel that from him, and that's how I roll. So I just be me. I'm not trying to be anybody else but myself. Baruch Hashem, had shaykhs with different tzaddikim through the years. I do things that are a little bit out of the ordinary here and there, but within the realm of halacha, that some people don't like. And it's good that I have the biggest proof I'm a Rebbe is I have misnagdim, right? I have sonim, but I daven for them, I wish them well. There's a few Yingalite in particular. One was a chavrusa of mine who are always fighting against me, and that, if anything, that's the proof I'm a Rebbe, is that I have people who hate me. But I love them and I wish them well, and I daven for them, and that's the story. So, sorry I took so long, but thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. We'll see you later. All right, how do I turn this off? This one?